Hello, everyone. Welcome to Realization Hub. My name is Michelle, and today I'm going to be going over the energy update for the new moon in Virgo, which is happening on Friday, August 22nd at 8:09 p.m. Hawaii time, which means it's going to be later in the evening for some of you in your time zone, or possibly even early in the morning the next day on the 23rd. So let's get into this new moon. First of all, a new moon is a new beginning. It's where we can kind of set the intention or plant a seed in a new creative cycle. It's when the moon and the sun are conjunct. And so you can see here in the chart, they're at the same degree. In this case, they're at 0 degrees, which is a critical degree. One of the really interesting things about this new moon is that it's going to be opening us up into eclipse season. The new moon always leads us to a full moon, and the next full moon is going to be happening on September 7th, and it's going to be a total lunar eclipse in Pisces. Following that, we're going to have another new moon, and that's going to be the second new moon in Virgo happening on September 21st, and that's going to be a partial eclipse. All right, so this opens us up into eclipse season. That means essentially in eclipse season that the new moon and the full moon is going to be really close to the north and south nodes. Okay, the north node is in Pisces, the south node is in Virgo. These are the north and south nodes, and these are karmic points and fated points in astrology. Okay, so whenever we have an eclipse, what that means is that these are fated, destined turning points and changes and beginnings and endings that are occurring for you on a soul level. And oftentimes it's outside of our control on a human level. And whether we are digging in our heels and resisting some of the changes, or whether we are allowing and going with the flow of the changes, it's going to realign us. You know, it's essentially like going to the soul chiropractor. And if there is something misaligned in your life, or there's a new way you need to pivot in your life, if there's some new growth you need to embody in your life, if there's something you need to release in your life, if there's something that needs to begin and end in your life, it's going to be happening around the eclipses. It's going to be activated by those eclipses. And so this is the new moon that opens us up into the eclipse cycle. And that's what makes this new moon pretty potent. This new moon is also at 0 degrees Virgo. 0 degrees Virgo is a critical degree. It's the most potent, kind of intense energy of Virgo. And it's kind of like that degree in any sign where we're really new with this energy. It's a new way of experiencing this energy. We're not familiar with it. We don't necessarily have the wisdom with it. So it's kind of like when you're flying to a new foreign country and you get off the plane and you know that you're in this foreign country, you chose to go there, you have an understanding of where you are, but you're walking around and you don't really know how anything works. It's all very different. The language is different, the systems are different, you know, it's a different culture, it's different, totally different paradigm, right? And so that's kind of what it feels like to be at the 0 degree mark in a new beginning. It's kind of like this is new territory that we're exploring, something new. And it has to do with this Virgoan energy. So Virgo is an earth sign, which makes it practical, which makes it feminine, which makes it receptive, and which makes it grounded and more reliable, and more embodied in some ways. It's also a mutable sign, which makes it adaptable and flexible and oftentimes able to be aware of multiple things at once. And you can think of someone who is like a priestess who is holding space in a ceremony. And she has to be aware of the room. and the energy of the room. And she has to be aware of the actual ceremony and the order of rituals that are taking place. She has to conduct those rituals with precision. She has to, prepare the space before, during, and after. She's doing multiple things at once. She's aware of multiple details at once, and she's showing up for that in very practical ways, making the important elixirs, lighting the fire, lighting the candles, blowing out the candles, passing around the bowls, the flowers, the incense, the oils, whatever it might be. Um, being aware of the space, all of that, and that is kind of that energy of Virgo. It's feminine energy. It's aware of the details. It likes to bring order to things. It can create systems that help us embody, practically embody new skills, new habits, especially habits related to our healing and our health and our overall improvement of our well-being. And so that Virgoan energy also has a natural kind of discernment to it, or kind of a critical editor's kind of energy to it, like a editor's mind, or a discerning kind of authority that it has. And it's uses that kind of critical mindset to help it see what's not working, comb through the details, and really start to improve and perfect things in the process. This new moon is an initiation. It's like a new beginning where we're using this energy in our lives. And it really does have quite a healing alchemy to it, this new moon. And I say that because there is a trine between Chiron, the wounded healer, and this new moon. Trine is a very supportive energy that's going to help bring us wisdom around healing. It's going to help us tap into our empathy and our compassion and the wisdom of our past hurts and wounds and traumas, and apply them in a supportive, positive way for our own emotional healing, or well-being in some way. And so this is like a new moon where one small detail that you change can make a really big impact over time. It can make a really big impact on your health and well-being and overall improvement of your systems and routines and orders that you are embodying in your life or putting together in your life. Now, one of the very interesting things about this new moon is that it's going to be in a square to Uranus, okay? Uranus is at 1 degree in Gemini over here, squaring this new moon. Now, this is what's interesting about this new moon, is this is an aspect or a conversation between planets that we haven't experienced in a very, very long time. You may have not even been born when this last happened. And so this is an energy we're all becoming familiar with. Now, Uranus is the planet of change and unpredictability and chaos and awakenings and breakthroughs, and it can be the higher mind. A lot of times when there are disruptions with Uranus, interesting things can happen within that disruption. Things can, reorganize themselves in a certain way. Things can synchronize in a higher way for us. Even if that disruption feels challenging or negative, it ultimately helps us change something or break through something, or, come into our uniqueness or our brilliance in some way, but it definitely brings change. Now, when we have a square with Uranus, what that means is this is going to be a challenging conversation with the new moon. It's challenging in that it doesn't just land in our laps. It's challenging in that with Uranus, it could bring more of a chaotic, unexpected disruption that we weren't really expecting. You might feel that you can predict this, but it's usually something that really comes out of your blind spot. Like, you're not seeing it at all coming. And this could bring about change. It could bring about a disruption. Um, and it can also bring about a sudden awakening or sudden communication. Having Uranus in Gemini, Gemini is all about learning new things, intellectual learning. It's an air sign. And it's all about dabbling in all kinds of things to learn about them. It's very communicative and witty. And so we could be, having some interesting communication coming out of left field that weren't prepared for, not used, weren't looking, we weren't ready for, something we couldn't predict, something that could be awakening to us, something that brings change. And so this new moon can definitely bring change. Um, and sometimes a square isn't necessarily challenging in that it's stressful. Sometimes a square can be challenging because you have to integrate and embody two things that are different. And in this case, you're embodying an earthly energy, which is practical and grounded and pays attention to details and wants to be of helpful service. And you're also embodying, you know, your communication skills and your ability to see the nuances of different perspectives, your ability to learn something new and stay open-minded and curious about other people's perspectives and the dualities of life. And, embodying both of those things together. Um, Sometimes a square with a planet can be challenging simply because it's like a growth period. It's where we have spiritually expanded and where we have to catch up to that expansion. And with Uranus, the awakener and the higher mind, we could have like a realization, an insight, something that awakens us that allows us to have a shift in consciousness or an expansion of some kind or a release of some kind. And it takes us a couple weeks to really, catch up to that change that's happening within us. Another thing that's standing out about this new moon is that we have a yod, which is um, this configuration here where we have two in conjunctions, one coming from Pluto that is touching this new moon, and one coming from Saturn and Neptune that's going towards the new moon. It's called the finger of God, and it creates this sextile between those planets. And it's like a finger pointing at a planet. It's called the finger of God, and it's pointing at the moon. And and so sometimes that can show us that something is being, when it's pointing at the moon, something is being emotionally suppressed, maybe overexpressed or underexpressed or repressed on some level, on an emotional, subjective reality level. And it might feel more comfortable for us to go into that Plutonian energy where we're, more in the hidden realms, where we're more in our shadows, where we're more secretive, where we're more, sneaky or trying to control or trying to manipulate something or trying to get through, a situation more intuitively or psychically or like, hidden in a hidden way. I kind of see it as like someone kind of sneaking around. It's kind of like something that's behind the scenes, something that's hidden. And then here we have Saturn here on the other side of this sextile, Saturn and Neptune, another comfort zone, where we're either too boundaried, our boundaries are too rigid, or we have really porous boundaries. And this creates confusion, with Neptune here as well, like confusion about what's really going on. Like, am I in reality? Am I in a fantasy? It's kind of like a mirage. Like you're walking through the desert and you see something and you're like, is that real or am I making that up? And how do I hold my boundaries in this wishy-washy kind of situation? And it really comes down to this yod, the finger of God, pointing at the moon. You know, this is kind of saying this is a fated new moon cycle in which you must express this energy of the moon, which is in Virgo. It has a very important, destined, fated kind of energy to it. And when I'm looking at, you know, this energy on more of like an intuitive level, it's kind of like where we're emotionally suppressing something and where, you know, we're hiding it. We're not being real about it. We're not effectively like using our boundaries around it in an effective way. We're not being clear about it. And it could be something small. You know, with Virgo, with the moon in Virgo here, Virgo is all about the details. And so this reminds me of all the little details that we usually maybe repress or dismiss. You know, maybe there's something annoying that's bugging you, or maybe there's something small that keeps happening that's irritating you, or maybe there's something small that keeps happening that's like making you uncomfortable or not working for you on some level, and you keep repressing it, repressing it, repressing it, or maybe you keep overreacting to it, overreacting and overreacting to it. And really it's about, you know, utilizing this you know, Virgoan energy and expressing it and being able to discern and being able to improve and being able to, you know, step into that energy of wanting to be of practical service that helps the well-being of yourself, your own body, as well as others, and to bring order and organization and systems, put systems in place that need to be in place that can support your emotions, that can support you so that all those little things don't necessarily bother you anymore because you have a system in place, or you have an order in place, or you have some kind of practical ritual in place, you know, that helps you, you know, express or handle some of these things that could be irritating or, you know, being dismissed on some level or repressed on some level. These are some major things kind of standing out around this new moon. All right, so I will definitely be hosting some supportive group events in September since it's going to be eclipse season. I'm going to be looking at those energies of the full moon total eclipse. Total lunar eclipse in Pisces, as well as the partial eclipse in Virgo, another new moon in Virgo. And yeah, so I'm going to be looking at those energies. I'm going to be selecting some topics for those group events. I do group energy healings, I do group channeled messages, as well as group guided meditations. And so I will be working with those eclipse energies all month. And if you're interested in signing up for some of those, you're welcome to do so. You can find more information in the description box below. And if you don't know who I am, again, my name's Michelle, and I help people heal themselves deeply and energetically, help them develop their intuition so that they can navigate their spiritual transformations, life changes, and their relationships in graceful, easeful, clarified, and empowered ways. Okay, so if you're ever interested, I actually have a free class coming up. It's going to be in early September. So again, you can find a link to sign up for my free class and learn some energy tools that you can use on a daily basis. And there's no obligation to continue, but it's a great way to kind of dip your finger in and start to get some tools that can help you manage your energy and feel better, feel more calm, grounded, and just balanced overall. If you're someone that's sensitive to energy, I highly recommend that you learn some tools to help you manage your energy and to heal yourself energetically and just overall learn the language of energy, so that you can really navigate that experience with a lot more clarity and empowerment. All right, so good to see you guys. Thank you so much. Talk to you later. Bye.